Hi, my name's Maria Matthews, and this is hopefully the first of a series of blogs and cooking demonstrations that I'm going to be working on over the next few months. First of all, I'd like to start with a little bit of history about myself. I've been a chef now for 5 years, mainly concentrating on vegetarian food, but over the last couple of years it's become more inclusive of vegan, wheat-free, and even some raw dishes. My reasons for cooking vegetarian wasn't so much to do with animal rights, it was more to do with the fact that I just wanted to encourage people to eat more vegetables because I was becoming increasingly concerned about the amount of processed foods that we were eating and also about what was in the meat that we was eating. It just, didn't seem healthy. I didn't think that the food that was on offer, especially, pre-made food, was particularly tasty. Even though even if it wasn't good for us, it didn't taste good either. So my aim was to encourage people who would normally eat meat to eat dishes that I'd created that were made completely of vegetables, but for them to enjoy it, to realise that you could eat food without meat and it would still be substantial and tasty. And I think that I have achieved that. Most of my customers, I would say 90% of my customers, are meat eaters, but they don't miss the meat. They come in because they like the food, regardless of whether it's got meat in it or not. But as I said earlier, the menu has evolved, and we're getting to a stage now where most of the recipes, the new recipes that I create, I try to make sure that they're vegan, not vegetarian, so they have no dairy products in them at all, and also, wherever possible, that they're wheat-free. I've recently discovered that I have a wheat intolerance myself, and I've only found that out by talking to people in my cafe who have got a wheat intolerance or a total allergy to wheat, so they're celiacs. And it was just by listening to them and them talking about their symptoms that I started to think, well, I feel like that. And I thought it was normal that after a meal you had to go and lie down, or that your skirt got too tight, or that you got an headache, or you just didn't feel great, or you'd be constipated, or it was just, looking back now, I can't believe that I did think that was normal, but that was just how it was. So listening to them and their symptoms, I started to realise that I actually had the same symptoms, and I cut wheat out of my diet. For 3 weeks I was so, I wouldn't say I was ill, but I was just so tired, and I researched it on the internet and found that this was one of the symptoms of coming off wheat. And like I say, it took me about 3 weeks to stop with the withdrawal symptoms, and then once they stopped, I did feel so much better. And now I would say that when I do occasionally have any wheat by accident or by choice, I feel terrible the next day. And I think there's probably so many people out there who have a wheat intolerance and have no idea, like me, think that it's normal to feel like that after you've eaten. Basically, if you eat something and your body grows, if your trousers or your skirt or whatever becomes tight or tighter than it was, then there's something wrong. That's not how it should be. Now I can eat, a full plant-based meal and no problems whatsoever. Skirt still fits fine. I feel fine. In fact, I have more energy after I've eaten. That's another thing. If you eat and you feel tired after you eat, then again, there's something wrong there. When we eat, we should be nourished. It should give us energy, not make us tired. So, after, coming to terms with the fact that I needed to stop eating wheat, then I had to sort of come up with a lot of recipes that didn't involve wheat. And I love a challenge, and I can't say that it was an hardship, and I can't honestly say that I've missed wheat. I was never a great pasta or pizza fan, and that is probably because it made me feel ill after. And there's some great alternatives out there that are wheat-free as regards bread. So, it hasn't really been a hardship. What I am realising more and more is that diet really does play a major part in our health. I know we're all told, that we should try and eat healthier, but what we're told and what is out there for us are, completely different things. It's so difficult to eat healthily when you go out, and over the last few months we did an experiment where for 3 weeks we decided that we was going to be vegan and wheat free just to see if we could do it. Anyway, we did, but eating out during those 3 weeks was virtually impossible. It's basically a vegetarian rice from a good Indian, or nothing, chips and salad. That's it. So a few months ago, I had a phone call saying that a raw vegan wanted to come to lunch and would we be able to accommodate him. So I thought, what am I supposed to give him? Salad, is that it? Is that all he eats? So anyway, I had a look on the internet and I started researching raw food, and I thought, do you know what, this is quite interesting. So like I say, I'm always up for a challenge. So I started to look and I found a few recipes, and I found out about things like dehydrators, and really got into it, and within a week I've developed sort of a 3-course lunch for this guy to have when he came in. So from that I then sort of researched it even more, and we found some raw food groups around the northwest. So we went to a raw house party, and again I took some dishes with me, and that gave me the confidence that I was on the right tracks because the people enjoyed what I'd taken. One of our customers lent us a dehydrator, so I got working on that, and I really enjoyed using that. And I went on a couple of workshops, but what I did discover was that I actually really enjoyed eating this food. It almost has a junk food quality about it because the flavours are so intense and so fresh. And the best thing about it is that when you eat it, you actually do feel nourished. It gives you energy. So I've been to a couple of raw food workshops, and one of the things that sticks in my mind from it was that one of the guys who was running one actually said that we're all starving, people are starving, we all overeat because the food that we're eating gives us no nourishment. And if you think about it, even if you think that you're on a reasonably healthy diet, if you have cereal for breakfast, a sandwich for lunch, a healthy option, ready microwave meal for dinner, it's still from that food you're getting virtually no nourishment. The only place that we can get real nourishment from is to eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruit. And when you get to a point where your diet is, I would say, at least 50% fruit and vegetables, and as much of that as raw as is possible, then you start to feel nourished. And once your body is getting the proper nourishments, you don't feel hungry anymore. So you're not constantly craving food, which is what happens when you're eating the junk food. It's filling your stomach, but it isn't nourishing your body. So your body is constantly wanting more and more food, and we feed it with more and more junk. And then that's why we end up putting weight on, or being ill, or we end up with high cholesterol. So I am convinced that everything that is wrong with us, really am, that every illness we have is down to our diet. And I think that the food that the majority of us are eating at the moment is killing us. we've got a case now where 1 in 3 people have got cancer at the moment. I've got a couple of friends who are going through cancer, and they, I would say, add a reasonable diet, a reasonable vegetarian, but it isn't enough just to be a vegetarian, just to not eat meat. Dairy is as bad. And even, your average, especially your average vegetarian student's main diet is probably a cheese and onion pie from the pie shop, or especially in Wigan, or chips and peas, or cheese and onion sandwiches, beans on toast. They're not getting any vegetables, and I think there is a lot of vegetarians out there whose diet is heavily reliant on soya, so which again is not in huge amounts, isn't good for you. It's a pharmaceutical product, especially the meat substitute type soya, things like corn, cheese, dairy, pastry, bread, and again, these are things that are as bad for you as meat is. So it's not enough to just be a vegetarian. Most of your diet, and I'm saying most of diet, I'm not saying that anybody should completely give up dairy or should completely give up meat if they don't want to, or fish, but there needs to be a change in all of our diets. And like I said, at least 70% of our diet should consist of vegetables. Meat should be a once a week treat, fish should be a once a week treat, even eggs and cheese, again, just something that you have once a week. The majority of your diet should be made up from vegetables. So this is what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and create a range of dishes. Well, I have created a range of dishes, but I'm going to try and show you how to recreate all the dishes that I do. And I'm going to do that by a series of workshops that I'm going to video, so that should be fun because I'm not that great at this, but hopefully I should get better. And what I want to do is to sort of do different levels. So, maybe we do the first one and it's aimed at people whose diet is mainly meat and junk food, processed food. So we'll go through a week's menu based on I've lost it now.